if you admit that it's counterintuitive and you're not going to find the man that you actually value on there, where are these men, do you think?
Oh, they're
at work.
Yeah, they're at work. They're working.
They're put up holding value, just like the females.
That they value.
At home? See, it's
No, I'm kidding.
It's hard to find someone
A woman
that's
can
like
be at
high
work,
value
too.
because they're always traveling, they're always at work, and especially if they're family oriented, then they're spending time with family. If the girl or the female, you know, she's high value, she too is spending time with her family. She too is focusing on her career.
Wait, what makes a high value woman?
I think someone who has high principles and morals, values. To me, that's what it is. I am. I wouldn't say I'm religious, but I would say that I do have a relationship with God, and I think just learning about Him has taught me so much.
Sorry, who's Him?
God.
Oh,
Jesus.
okay.
Just learning about Him and just really reading the Bible and understanding the tremendous love that He has for all of His children has really put things into perspective.
Yeah.
Do you think like body count would depict who is a high caliber woman and who isn't?
I do.
I think.
I do.
Yeah.
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
If high body count has to do with like high value. It matters.
You know,
It does matter.
I think it does matter, but at the same time, I also do think that God came to this world to renew and restore, and you know, His grace and mercy is big and bountiful. And even though you may have a history of like a high body count, if you come to Him,
Right, in
and
God's
you come to
eyes, yeah.
repent-
No, definitely.
Yeah.
I think they're talking about your husband, right?
Okay.
Keep going.
Yeah, it's like,
going.
in God's eyes, yes, of course you can be redeemed, and then it's something you have to,
Right.
when you ask for forgiveness and redemption,
changes you.
It does, and then
completely changes you.
It really does, and you have to be in it, though, you know, you don't just keep going back.
No, it's
on
a
it.
lifestyle.
Yeah,
it's a lifestyle. It's a dedication. It's a relationship that you nurture every
Right.
single day.
And when it comes to a man, you know, I've never met a high value man that wants a woman that's ran through, I guess would be the
yeah. No, it does matter.
low mileage is
I don't
best
know,
for
'cause I've
both.
met a lot of high value men that want the hose. I've met a lot of high value men that want the hose. I don't know.
I would also argue that past behavior is kind of a good indicator of future behavior. Like if it's, I understand for some people they like have made a mistake once or twice, but in order to have a high body count, you have to have made that mistake like a dozen times for it to be high. So I don't think that when you're saying high body count, it's like somebody who made a mistake once or twice. You're getting to these high numbers.
That's true.
So this is an indicator of like a repeated thing that you consistently do.
Some people have to like really have to repeat their mistakes over and over and over again. And
Would they not repeat them during marriage?
I don't know.
Do you think they're more likely? Do you think women are more likely to repeat those mistakes if they're told every day from every angle of society that that's empowering to be promiscuous?
I think that's what's wrong with society. Like really trying to, you know, I don't know.
Promote sex.
Yeah, promote sex. That's, to me, that's really damaging, not only for women, but for men, because though women may be putting that content out there, you know, the customers are the men. You know, like it's not one without the other. They're both equally responsible for nurturing and building this type of society. Now we've been insensitized to it, and we see it as normal. And
so, would you be willing to shame people that you knew for?
I would never shame anyone. No, that's not my position.
It's not shame.
That's not my position to shame anyone. That's your. First of all, like the shaming does not come from God. He doesn't do that.
Righteous.
Right. Condemnation does not come from God.
He comes to make you righteous, exactly. But
righteous judgment.
Righteous judgment, not shame. Right? There's difference.
Shame comes from sin.
If you correct your child, right, for something they did, and they feel shame, even if you corrected them and it ended in them feeling shame, you still correct them even if they feel shame.
I would say if you're correcting them, you are disciplining them, and it comes from a place of love
Right.
and understanding. So if
That's
you're
not
disciplining,
what I asked a very, hold on a second. I asked a very specific question. If you come from love, right? If you are guiding and not commanding, if you correct and discipline, if it just so happens that your child or whoever you're disciplining feels shame, it doesn't negate the correction, right?
I think the shame came from the action, not the discipline.
right.
I agree.
Yeah.
With
So
that.
you're not going to answer, or I didn't ask where it came from. I said, do you still correct people's behavior, even if it ends in an outcome where they feel shame?
I can't control how they will feel. So if they
I didn't
feel
ask that.
shame,
I
I know,
didn't ask
but
that
I
either.
know. Oh, let me finish. If I correct them and they feel shame, that's them. Like, I can't control how you feel after you've been corrected. But I will.
Great. So I'll reframe the question.
Okay.
Do you think it's a good idea to correct women who are following suit with a high promiscuity count?
How would you correct a woman?
Tell them that they're doing something damaging to themselves.
I think they already know
And
that.
and no, you can't just think they already know that, because what are we in a society that most women think it's empowering because of feminism?
Exactly. They
You
think
can lead
it's
by
empowered.
What about leading by example? I, for example, don't do fans or anything like that. And I've been peer pressured many times in the industry to do certain things like sex work, but it's not something that I would like to do, want to do, or morally align with. So,
I agree with you.
Yeah, I think that's where it comes from. You know, you're able to.
I'm saying that I'm not asking what you guys think you could do or not do, or what you think is right or wrong. I'm saying that we, as humans in society, men and women, have an obligation to correct other people in our society. But the thing is, everyone's so afraid to correct people that degeneracy ends up being some sort of like virtuous, heroic thing, and everyone's championing it. Now we're in basically a disaster culturally.
You can.
Societally, we're in a disaster. Not only are women thinking that promiscuity, now they're even to men, they can have sex.
They're making so much money doing it because of the men who want to contribute to it.
Hold on a second. If the men want that and they can't get it, for instance, if AI takes over all of the
Can't get it
OnlyFans and those
anywhere.
accounts, right? In the next 2 years, totally fake women, right? If those men still do that, that's an act against them, right? But what will women do, right, to compete with that? For those of you selling your bodies online, right, what are you going to do when that kind of takes the place? Because what I'm saying, and many people like me are saying, you women have been sold a lie, but the partial truth to the lie is that the leverage you have is your sex, is your virtue, your virginity, and your ability to be mothers for families. And what happened is feminism told you, pussy power. Your power is the pussy, and that's true. Actually, it's true. It's just that they've inverted it and
They've
told
twisted
you,
it,
go
yeah.
use it. That's your power. Well, no, it's disempowering. You've been lied to. You think it's freedom. It's not. You're literally destroying not only your connections to people, but you're destroying your value economically out on the field. It's completely destroyed.
I understand and agree with that. I think for the purpose of like when you originally raised the question about like righteous judgment and whose right it is to judge, like just because like I personally don't partake in those activities either, but I also don't judge other women, just because I have my own opinions about like what I want to do for my body and like what I would want for my future daughters, but that doesn't mean that I'm necessarily looking down on other women for it. And I also feel like it's kind of like skill-based matchmaking in terms of men. It's like if you're a man and you don't want to be with a woman who's done fans or has done certain things, then you as a man can just choose to not date women who do that. I don't think that it needs to be a matter of like shame or like I don't need to police other women's bodies.
No, this is absurd. If you're going to have a future where you're going to be a mother, God willing, and I hope you will, I think you'll make a great mother just based on what you've said tonight, is that as soon as your daughters turn 18, and let's say their friends tell them selling your body on OnlyFans is empowering, and they start believing their friends, are you not going to come in and judge the action? We're not talking about judging the heart. We're talking about judging the action and coming in as a mother and saying, no, that's not empowering. That woman's wrong. That's the wrong thing to do. Is that a judgment?
I think that we're kind of not talking about individuals versus generalities. I would police my daughter about that because that is my individual. I'm talking about on a larger societal scale of me policing women as a whole is what I'm saying that I don't want to do. I would discipline my child and my daughter if that's what she decided to do. I would not be in favor of that behavior as a mother. But I can't enforce my values onto other individual
Really?
women.
You can state them, but you can't enforce
Yeah,
them.
I can tell them, I can just make the statement that that's not what I want to do, that's not what I wish for other women, and that's not what I wish for my
An
future
I statement versus
children.
a you statement.
But I'm not going to be like, hey, you don't make an OnlyFans. That's not my
Hold on a
business.
second. Let's do it. Let's say you have a best friend and you both have kids at the same time, and they both end up being girls, right? And at 18, they're still friends. The one friend, your friend's daughter, gets into this, starts influencing your daughter. You end up talking to the mother. Do you tell, if you have the chance, do you try to correct out of love, correct that mother and say, I think they're doing the wrong thing. I think you should correct this?
Yes, I would, but that's on
let
an
it be-
individual level rather than a societal level.
What is a society made of?
I understand that you're going to a society that's made out of like a larger scale, and I understand that. I'm just saying that like for me, I would tell the mother and like at that point, I would imagine that I would view this girl as like my niece and my familiar person that I need to like make sure that she doesn't go down the wrong path. But I don't think
good?
that yes, and I feel like the average woman doesn't need to hear my condemnation for her OnlyFans. She already knows.
Hold on. If it's good at the micro level of the family and the extended family, which is your community and people you look at, even if they're not blood related, you look at as your cousins and your friends and your aunts and all these things. If that's true at that level and you think that's good, how could you say it's not something that you ought to do each phase out? You know what I mean? Like you zoom out the collective, the city now, the state now, the country. How could it possibly be a bad thing to step in as women? Because this is what's missing. Men are starting to understand this. Hold on a second. Men are starting to understand women are misled, and men have been following each other. Misled men, misled women. Men are starting to correct now because why? Because they're realizing that they want a high value woman, and that's a mother and a wife. And women, some of you are actually finding out a high value man is actually the father and the protector and the provider of the house, right? And so if this is happening, I'm not sure what you could possibly say would be good about just removing yourself from the participation of pointing and saying, maybe that's not good for you.
I'm just gonna say, like how you're saying how it's different for her to say it to like aunts and nieces and whatever. Those are people that value that opinion. She could say that to someone that she doesn't know, and they're gonna be like, okay, well, fuck you, because you don't agree with me.
I can make that point because
What are you talking about?
I can make that point because I'm the only one on here, right, that does, well, you do OnlyFans too, right? We both do that. But I mean, like, respectfully, whatever she says wouldn't matter to me.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not something that
And that
one
was the point that I was
person-
making as
Yeah,
well. That, like,
it's
I'm not
like-
going to tell you not to have your
Yeah.
OnlyFans.
Right, it's just
but I
rude.
would personally do that for myself.
Okay,
Right.
so it doesn't matter to you right now. Therefore, anyone you say that to, it won't impact. Are you kidding me?
I just feel like it's just carrying that burden of you feeling like you have to tell every girl you meet not to do OnlyFans or not to do sex work or not to do this with their body would be just a waste of your time. Honestly, you can do other stuff better.
Jim Bob, final thought on this?
I'm just saying, I'm not saying you go out with this.
No, I know what you're trying to say. I know what you're trying to say. I just feel
I
like
agree with you. I think I'll give you a point here is that you do want some relatedness to be able to say these things. I agree with that. But the hypothetical I'm pointing to isn't walking up to strangers and doing this. I'm saying that if you have the opportunity to promote this, or let's say the opposite of promoting OnlyFans and promiscuity and all this, feminism basically on net balance is trash. Like, will you call it out if you could? And I think the answer is yes. I'm not saying, I'm asking what could possibly be bad about fighting against lies
I
that are
understand.
told to young women.
I understand what you're saying, and I actually do that on my platform. Is I talk about how like you don't have to like show your body to be empowered, and I don't personally do any of like explicit or adult content or anything like that. And I do say that on my platform because I know that a bunch of little girls watch my content. A lot of young women watch my jiu-jitsu content, and I want to be a good example, but I don't make my entire platform about like crusading and just lead by example about like saying that
Exactly.
that's not what I want to do. And people often ask me like, where's the link? And I'm like, that's not something that I ever want to do. And I make sure to lead from the front by just not having one and saying that in my comment sections, like, I've never done adult content and I never intend on doing adult content. And I don't believe that that's a good example, but I'm not banging down the doors of fans women.
Okay.
Right,
What if
exactly.
someone approached you, and I'll let Brian, you move on after this. I see you want to go on
Yeah.
to the next thing. What if someone DMs you and says, I'm doing this, should I do it?
I'd say no. I'd say please do everything else that you could possibly do first.
Absolutely.
Again, that's someone that would value her opinion.